How long did you hold on to that? Because there was some report that said you were a Native American on your Texas bar license, and that you said you were a Native American on some documents when you were a professor at Harvard. Like, why'd you do that?
So it's, that's, like I said. Well, it's, that's, like I said, it's what I learned from my family.
When did you find out you weren't?
Well, I'm not a person of color.
I know that.
I'm not a citizen of a tribe. And tribal citizenship is an important distinction and not something I am. So.
Was there any benefits to that?
No.
You kind of like the original Rachel Dolezal a little bit. Rachel Dolezal was a white woman pretending to be black.
X gon' give it to you. Wait for you to get it on your own. X gon' deliver to you.
No, this is what I learned from my family.
Yeah.
Always lying to me. So much. You're lying so much.
Identify as black.
Let me put a picture up of you in your early 20s, though. And when you see this picture, is this an African-American woman?
There was some report that said you were a Native American on your Texas bar license, and that you said you were a Native American on some documents when you were a professor at Harvard. Like, why'd you do that?
So it's what
That's stupid. Use your common sense.
Well, it's. Well, I'm not a person of color will ever take it away from me.
This president really could win again. But he wins. So we better come up with answers and quick. It doesn't work that way. In a rising tide of violent white nationalism that must be named and defeated.
I literally am gonna die. I need an ambulance. I can't.
Creemos en esos valores, no como valores conservadores, pero valores americanos.
¿Dónde está la biblioteca?
Politics doesn't matter because he wins, and that's where I come in. Thank you for what you do for American values. I'll see you on the campaign.
Let's stay woke.
You're killing me, man!
Good morning. 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 As most of you know, I was raised by a mother who was a fighter. And so, Democrats, we have a fight on our hands.
But he wins.
And it's a fight for who we are as a people. It's a fight for truth itself. And here's the thing.
This president really could win again.
The Washington Post did the math for us.
Okay. Boom.
This president told 10,000 lies.
-1, that's free. Quick maths.
828 days in office.
The thing goes grrrr.
It is a pathological failure of leadership.
And that's where I come in.
And let's call it what it is.
This president really could win again.
Those crazy tweets.
Why you always lying? Oh my God.
We need to begin impeachment proceedings, and we need a new commander-in-chief.
But he wins. So we better come up with answers and quick.
Thank you, Democrats.
Identify as black.
Let me put a picture up of you in your early 20s, though. And when you see this picture, is this an African American woman?
Do you know what an REO is?
An Oreo?
No, not an Oreo.
Oreo. O and Rio. O and O. Oreo. Re.
Oreo?
No.
Oh. Oreo.
No, not an Oreo. An REO.
Rio. Re-ore.
REO.
Real estate?
What's the O stand for?
Oh, oh.
E organization?
Owned. Real estate owned. That's what happens when a property goes to foreclosure. We call it an REO.
Oh, Ray, oh.
REOs.
Oreo?
No.
Identify as black.
Let me put a picture up of you in your early 20s, though. And when you see this picture, is this an African American woman?
Have you ever been beat up in your high school for wearing the wrong hat?
I just been beat up because people didn't like me.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying.
The idea is the bullying.
Who's the bully in this scenario?
Well, definitely liberals bully.
You mad, bro? Why you mad, bro? I ain't mean to make you sad. Yo, my bad, bro.
People who are Trump supporters, it's not just calm. You can't just go and wear the hat. You can't just go. It's like, you. Like, it's like, bro.
If we want to beat Donald Trump and achieve big progressive goals, socialism is not the answer. I was reelected. You know, if we're not careful, we're going to end up helping to reelect the worst president in American history.
And that's where I come in.
Hold on. As the Democratic Party, we have to create a vision for this country. I will tackle climate change with a laser focus.
This president really could win again.
In Pursuit of Truth presents a dramatic reading with your host, Sir Patrick Mack of Maplethorpe.
So that's really how you do it right. That is such a core component of the Green New Deal is having all these projects make sense in a cultural context. And it's an area that we get the most pushback on because people they say like, why do you need to do that? That's too hard. But when you really think about it, when someone says that it's too hard to do a green space that grows yucca instead of, I don't know, cauliflower or something. What you're doing is you're taking a colonial approach to environmentalism. And that is why a lot of communities of color get resistant to certain environmentalist movements. Because they come with a colonial lens on them. And it should be no surprise that sometimes a lot of these projects don't work out occasionally. Because our communities are naturally intuned to live in an environmentally conscious way. A lot of us are 1 or 2 generations removed from living off the land. My family in Puerto Rico is still in many ways living off the land. But if I went to a predominantly white community and said, okay, you guys are going to be growing plantains and yucca and all of these things that you don't know how to cook, it's and that your palate isn't accustomed to. It's going to be like cute for a little bit, but it isn't easy. You need to make it as easy as possible to kind of like flow into these communities and make it work. So, the way that you do this, right, is that you don't kind of come to a community and impose what you think is right. That is what so many community development projects get wrong. Whether it's housing, whether it's environmental projects, what you need to do is plug in and find leaders in these communities and support them. And also just like pay attention to like when they're speaking about these things. And so often they'll be saying these things forever and they just go on deaf ears, and when someone brings it up from a different community, that's like the first time it's acknowledged when some people have been talking about this for a long time. So, that's a huge element to all of this.
Hi. I'm going to admit that I assumed that this was going to be more Republicans than Democrats when I came here. So I'm a little more nervous than I would have been otherwise. But I would like to say that I think a lot of the people here that are cheering you and applauding your courage, most likely a lot of them didn't vote for you. I, on the other hand, have voted for you in every election since 2010. And in fact, I worked on your first campaign in 2010. I knocked on hundreds of doors for you. I made hundreds of cold calls for you, inviting people to your events to meet you. I made tons of personal phone calls to friends to vote you in when you were running against a bunch of other people, right? That was like your hardest election versus being an incumbent, you know, the last time you ran. So I was there for you from the very beginning. I'm not sure how many people applauding his courage were, but I would like to say since that time, I've changed my position on you. And you have spent the last 2 years failing to do your job. Which is to directly represent the popular will of your constituents. That is your job.
That's not my job. No,
I double-checked online before I wrote that in my notes. So it is your job. It's on house.gov. You can read it yourself.
My job is oh, man, the building is on fire.
No, that's not what house.gov says.
That is my job.
That's not what those are not mutually exclusive. Do you realize that those are not mutually exclusive?
They can be.
Okay.
That's why our system is designed
not,
the way it
not
is.
in the way that you've behaved. At first, okay, so you called for the nearly unprecedented step of impeachment. And at first you gave no reason. I read every single one of your tweets. And then when you were pressed, you finally gave a reason, and you came up with things like discussions of firings that never happened, rumors of recusal reversals that never happened, nobody reversed their recusal, and then made baseless claims about obstruction of justice, which I know you discussed it before, but you have to have corrupt intent. So you have to prove that Trump knew that he was guilty of a crime and knowingly tried to obstruct justice based on that, okay? You don't have that. You don't have proof of corrupt intent. You don't.
I really can't say, but yes.
And you also further know that impeachment would tear this country apart if it went through and he was removed from office. It would cause a political upheaval in this country people in this generation have never seen before, possible civil war. You rest safe, you rest safe in the knowledge that that will not happen, that he won't be removed from office. So you get to make the political grandstanding that raises your national profile. You are now a national household name. That's called political capital. And you are hoping to launch your star bigger and brighter than District 3. You just talked about how you did better in District 3 than Trump. Do you want to talk about how the last election you got the least amount of support that you ever have because you haven't supported the MAGA agenda? Now that's your right to do so, but it's your right to support whatever you want, but you also know that you have no future in this district because of that as a Republican. So you want to go bigger and brighter. And I have my final thing, my question is, why did you talk nothing about the FISA abuses? If you care about the Constitution so much, why didn't you say anything about the year-long violation of the Fourth Amendment rights of Trump and his entire transition team? every phone call, every email, every personal conversation for a year. You are laughing about a year-long spying on an entire team of people. Fourth Amendment's violated. And you didn't speak about it once. You didn't speak about the FISA abuses, which is currently under investigation. And you called Agent A.G. Barr a liar without any proof.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Identify as black.
Let me put a picture up of you in your early 20s, though. And when you see this picture, is this an African American woman?